There's no doubt that the color of one's skin often defines how one is perceived by others. Although many people often avoid the topic of race, it is something that affects everyone and anyone, not only in America, but in every other nation as well. In these interviews, the students and some faculty on Emory's campus provide insight into their idea of race, the importance society places on it, and how they believe it has affected their experiences here at Emory.
Please state your name and where you're from.
My name is Philip Winkle, and I'm from Hood River, Oregon.
My name is Jay George, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Sarah Schatzman, and I'm from Las Cruces, New Mexico.
My name is Hajar, and I'm from Saudi.
Roy Mossy from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Jose Payares from Spain, Madrid.
My name is Sarah Lewis. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm Vice President of the Black Student Alliance.
Define race in your own words.
To me, race is basically like a social construction, so depending on where you live and what the cultural norms are there, that's kind of what race is.
Race is something that you're born into and that you embrace through your life.
I believe that race is a social construct. It's physical attributes that we use in order to differentiate people. A lot of people say, well, race is biological. I believe in that too, but I think over time it becomes more social.
Race, I think, is a set of institutions that we've been brought up with depending on where you originate from geographically, and I think it also has to do with skin color too.
Do you think race is a product of our society, or is it biological and definite?
I think it's completely societal. I mean, certainly the distinctions can be made based on biological differences. They can also be made off of, religious differences, under the idea that it's the othering of one group of one person to another.
It's a mixture of both because you are born with some sort of a race, but you can also adapt into being a new person and don't always have to follow the constraints of what you're born into.
I think it's a little bit mixture of both. I think obviously there's some biological components because obviously we don't all look the same, but I also think that kind of it's defined by society a little bit as well.
Has where you're from affected your view on race? If so, explain.
Absolutely. I was born in Haiti. I lived there till I was 9. So the idea of race and racism was not really at the forefront of my mind. And I think that's probably what dictated my answer to the previous question in terms of saying that it's more of a social construct, in my opinion, because when I was Haiti, I was unaware of race and racism. So I learned race and racism when I moved to Long Island, New York. At the age of 9, and then I began to see that people were being treated differently because of the color of their skin.
Yes, actually. In the Philippines, there's not a lot of racists. Who I usually see are other Filipinos. But upon moving here, I see many kinds of people, again, from many different backgrounds. They all look different. So yes, I do see race is more defined. I would say it plays a bigger part because I'm able to distinguish other people more just based on growing up seeing the same people that look like me.
Where I'm from really doesn't really kind of hasn't affected my race more as my college years has. So the experiences I've gone through in college help, put me more into my racial identity and everything. So I wouldn't say it has too much effect on it, even though I am from South Carolina, one of the, southern states. I don't think it has that big of an impact.
Why do you think race is so important to our society?
Race is important to our society because it's part of human nature to categorize people, and just picking out differences is very easy.
Race is important to our society because it's an undercurrent in everything. So whether or not you want to believe that it's affecting you or you want to feel like race is a big deal, when people see you, especially in our country, they see your race. So it's kind of hard to not have it be a big deal.
I think it's important to really recognize and connect with other people because as humans we always want to connect with our own fellow man, but then it shouldn't really define you to the point where you stereotype and prevent someone from receiving these opportunities because of their race.
What does diversity mean to you?
Diversity, it's
Acceptance.
What does diversity mean to you?
Diversity to me, it doesn't just mean being a different race or coming from a different country. To me, it's just being different in general.
Diversity is being unique in your own way, no matter gender, sexuality, race, ethnicity, whatever.
I think diversity is something actually cultural. I think a true diversity is something that you actually bring to the table, and if you're just bringing color to the table, then that's not really something that it doesn't really seem something substantive as far as true diversity.
Have you ever been a victim of racial stereotypes?
I've heard a lot of stuff like, oh, why don't you speak ghetto? And I'm like, I am not ghetto. And I've heard people tell me that I'm the whitest black girl they've ever met, and just things like that.
One time when I first moved to Georgia, I was like pretty much one of the only Hispanics in my middle school, and this girl who was African American started like coming up to me, and she was like, so what are you? Are you white? Are you black? Like, you don't even fit in. And then she like grabbed me by my ponytail. I guess she was trying to, I don't even know what she was trying to do, like establish her authority as like a dominant race or something. But you know, I just told her to back the heck up, or else I was gonna like, I don't even know what I was gonna do, and I reported her to like the principal.
I've been racial stereotyped. My name is actually Sarah Elizabeth Lewis. That's my full name. So one time when I went to go check out a library book, they didn't believe that my name was Sarah because, you know, I'm an African American woman, which is kind of weird. But, you know, I think my name's pretty common. I love my name. I'm named after my mom's two best friends. So I just felt like I should not have to establish who I was. Like, not only did I have to pull out, you know, my Emory ID, I had to pull out like my driver's license, and it was just kind of crazy for all that for me to get my own library book that I put on reserve.
Has the idea of race affected your experience at Emory? Definitely. A lot of people kind of judge me when they see me with people of different races, but when I see people of different races, I just see them as people. I don't see color. I mean, everybody has a background, but that's because we're humans. It's not because we're from different races, per se.
I would say yes, because since everyone puts such a big emphasis on diversity, it makes me think that diversity has to do with like race, with like where you're from, and I notice it all the time because of the fact that everyone's from different geographical areas. So in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, everyone's like all these different races and stuff. So yes.
If it's affected my experience, I definitely think it's enhanced my experience being in such a diverse school and learning about different groups' ideas, beliefs, practices, all
of that. Maybe some. I mean, we're definitely a diverse campus, but I think that a lot of times we segregate ourselves, and so it's been interesting to see that, to see, you know, coming from I guess an environment where I wasn't able to know as many people from other nations, other cultures, and that sort of thing. It's been really interesting to get to know people of all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of histories and heritage and ethnic groups. Like, that's definitely colored my experience at Emory and changed what it would have been had it been a much less diverse campus.
I can't really answer that question because I feel like race is kind of a part of like everything we do. So it's not like I can really separate my experience at Emory from my experience with race in this country. So I would say the two are intertwined.
Do you think that the BSA is part of the problem and it divides our campus based on color rather than uniting it?
I don't think so, because believe it or not, in BSA we have non-black members, so I don't think it divides anybody, because even though it is the Black Student Alliance, it also comes together. We have all these programs, but yet, you know, people don't come out, and though it's like we're trying to provide that community in that area where you can meet new people, come together, learn something, but I don't think we're help creating the divide.
What has OMPS done for the minority community and this campus as a whole?
As far as the minority, the underrepresented population on campus, our job is to advocate for those students. And we do that through our advising, and we do that through our mentoring program. The job of the program is to help them in their transition at Emory as freshmen.
What race do you identify with? The human race?
My mom is white. but I grew up in Saudi, so I say I'm Arab too. So Middle Eastern. I'm black, but mostly black. I don't know, I'm confused. I am Indian.
A white Caucasian.
Black, African American.
Asian.
Hispanic.
I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. Because my understanding of Caucasian is from the Caucasus Mountains, and I've actually never been out of the continental U.S. Except I went on a trip to Eastern Europe once, but never to the Caucasus Mountains. And so I think that is trying to pigeonhole me into something that I don't believe that I am. White is a color, and so there are plenty of people who have white colored skin but that don't identify as Caucasian or as white. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of an enigma when it comes to that. I cannot be defined by color, I don't believe, just as many of my brothers and sisters cannot be defined by color. So so I don't know what race I am. But on the ACT I put white, so I don't know.
As you can see, even on such a diverse campus as Emory's, race still holds an important role. But it doesn't have to. All we ask is that you ignore the color of a person's skin and any preconceived notions or racial stereotypes you may have of them. Because when it comes down to it, we're all just people, unique in more ways than one.